Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today I've got for you a team selection video / last week's review video / initial transfer thoughts video / also captaincy picks, potentially decided what kind of captain I might go for this week as well. So loads of stuff to talk about as always, every single week. And yeah, I think we will move straight on without saying anything else. We're going to move in and have a look at my team from last week. So game week 3 team, this is what I'm dealing with. If you're liking this kind of content, if you like sort of the animated pitch or some kind of FPL stuff that's kind of a little bit talkative, a little bit chatty, then please do consider subscribing. Maybe we can push towards 40,000 subscribers over the next week. I hope, fingers crossed. So please do help me out with that and make sure you hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss a thing. So yeah, let's run through this team very quickly. Sort of game week 3. So yeah, 52 points -4 doesn't actually seem like such an amazing score, but it was actually a game week where lots of people really struggled, indeed actually. So I'm actually not, I'm pretty happy with this considering most of the people with the typically good teams, and I think my team is sort of typically good, most of them fell short, and obviously the captaincy picks, all of the top captaincy picks sort of failed in game week 3, so that was a little bit troubling. But I think I survived this week and my overall rank has actually shot up 400,000 places, so I'm not in an amazing position. I'm not happy about where I am right now. I would like to be a little bit higher by this point, but we're certainly on a really good path to really achieving something. So my clear head tactics of going into the season, I like to not panic. I like to take things not necessarily slowly, but not make any rash decisions, and I think that is sort of gonna start going my way. It already arguably has started going my way. If I can keep getting scores above average, which I think I will, then I'll be okay. But we'll talk about that in a second. Let's just look through this team very quickly. So up 400,000 places, 52 points in this team, which is not really too bad. Ryan obviously had a tricky game against Manchester United. Wasn't expecting too much from him. Trent Alexander-Arnold, even though he lost his clean sheet, he did get the assist, and he looked really good. He looked really good in that game when I was watching him. Sort of putting in lots of crosses. He was taking shots kind of thing. And it's exactly why I brought him in, to be fair. Robertson arguably looks a little bit better, and has looked a little bit better over the last few games as an FPL asset. But Trent Alexander-Arnold is proving his worth. Yes, indeed he is. And I probably wouldn't want to double up on those Liverpool defenders right this second. But yeah, looking pretty good. James, I guess that was kind of a disappointment against West Brom. I didn't expect Chelsea to concede 3 goals against West Brom, and I thought they might have a few more goals in there as well. Maybe James could get some of the assists, potentially a goal, but wasn't to happen. No clean sheet, obviously. Chelsea defensively looking in a pretty tragic state right now, and their team is not fully fit. It's not fully pieced together yet, so they are going to struggle a little bit. So probably if I was on a wild card or something like that right now, which I'm not going near, I probably would think about moving on James. But I mean, I'm happy to keep him. Let's see how he gets on. There's definitely points in him, and he's pretty cheap anyway, to be fair. Ayling got a clean sheet against Sheffield United. I did suspect that might happen, just because Sheffield United didn't score any goals in game week 1 or game week 2. They've now got a third game week without scoring. So in terms of defenders, if you've got a defender that's playing against Sheffield United, you might want to consider throwing them in, as I did with Ayling. Ayling, of course, got the lovely little bonus point there as well, which was pretty nice to see. He was also looking really progressive. He was playing so high up the pitch, and this is what I like about Leeds. They're going gung-ho. They're really attacking. They don't really care how many goals they concede, as long as they can score some. And that's sort of conveyed with the fullbacks as well. Ayling could have had an assist when he passed it to Dallas, who unfortunately didn't finish it off. So yeah, those Leeds fullback looking really good indeed. And then Kyle Walker-Peters also there, come off the bench. As you guys may remember, I took a -4 to put in Podence for Alan Saint-Maximin, but then Podence got injured, so that's sort of what the risk you take when you make early transfers, I suppose. Sometimes your player ends up getting injured, and you find out after you've already made the transfer, it's too late, you've taken the -4, so that's a little bit of a shame. I would have been 4 points better off if I didn't make this transfer, but I'll talk about it in a little bit. But Podence is a long-term pick, so I'm not too worried about that. And Kyle Walker-Peters did come off my bench. Wasn't planning on starting him at all, and he got me 6 points from that clean sheet that he got against Burnley. So yeah, really good. I'm liking a lot of these sort of defenders that are really getting forward and attacking. So centre-backs I probably wouldn't be looking at all at the moment. These full-backs that I'm picking, the super attacking full-backs, really nice players to have in your team. So even though there's not many clean sheets going around at the moment, you've always got that chance of an attacking return, an assist, a goal potentially. So that's sort of what I'm liking in defence at the moment, and so I'm sort of happy to stick with that. Moving on to midfield, my 3-man midfield, unfortunately. Wish it was a 4-man midfield, but it wasn't to be. Salah, the only guy to get a return in that sort of premium, out of those premium captaincy options. You know, Salah, De Bruyne and Verna are the guys people typically went for as captains. And yeah, only Salah, he got an assist, which I guess is not even a particularly good return, but, you know, we'll take it. It's a player that I want to have anyway. De Bruyne, disappointing. Didn't really expect City to lose in that way. Perhaps they've got a few players missing, obviously. They've not got a recognised striker in their team right now for De Bruyne to pass on to, so that's not ideal for him. De Bruyne, he's still looking really good, still in really good position, still looking like the best Man City asset, so I'm very happy to have him still. And yeah, we'll go on with that a little bit. Bruno Fernandes, I'm so glad I kept him. So many people were saying, you've got to get rid of Bruno Fernandes. He had a terrible first game, and I went with the logic, no, come on, you can't judge Bruno Fernandes on one bad game when he had that whole last season. I'm not even saying he played particularly well in that game against Brighton, but the appeal for Bruno Fernandes is his set pieces, his penalties, and that's exactly what ended up giving him a really, really good score. The penalty sort of at the last second of injury time plus. So yeah, went well beyond the game and got that penalty goal. So brilliant stuff. That's exactly why we want Bruno Fernandes. That's exactly why we want plenty of penalty takers. So Salah, De Bruyne, Fernandes, and even Mitrovic are filling those roles. So yeah, Fernandes, very, very happy to own. I think a lot of people who may have switched to Son might be switching back to Bruno Fernandes again. So this yo-yo between Bruno Fernandes and Son. But I've always said Bruno Fernandes is the player I want long term, so I will be sticking with him. Up front, Timo Werner, really disappointing captaincy. He was playing sort of wide on the left, which is not really what I wanted. But that's what happened. Verna is a little bit of a concern now. He's not scored yet in the Premier League. I know he scored in the League Cup against Tottenham. But yeah, he's not quite there as an FPL asset, is he, especially for his price. And you can see his price is dropping already. Mitrovic, I watched the game of Fulham against Aston Villa, and although Fulham did get smashed, Mitrovic was taking so many shots. He probably had more shots than any other player on the pitch by a long stretch. And plenty of headed attempts, plenty of shots in the box. So looking positive, but just wasn't his day. He could have easily got a goal or two in that game against Aston Villa. So although he got 2 points, not a concern. And then Che Adams finally, game week 3's finally got a goal contribution for me. So well done Che Adams for getting something. Because yeah, I was getting a little bit worried that I might have sort of bought into a train that was never going to get any points, but we got some points, and yeah, we'll see what's to come. Yeah, onto my bench, nothing really interesting happening on my bench other than Burke. Burke obviously starting up front for Sheffield United once again. Is he now the first choice striker? Potentially there. He's listed as a midfielder, obviously, so we've got the extra point there, 3 points, because Burke was taken off the field before Sheffield United did concede a goal, so you've got the clean sheet point there as well. So quite nice, I guess, to have on your bench just in case anything goes terribly wrong. But there you go, and let's now move on to my my team selection for game week 4 and who I fancy picking. So Ryan is going to be the man in goal. No surprise there. He's a set and forget option. I keep telling you this every single game week. So whoever he plays, let's just hope he picks up some points, basically. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm not really into premium goalkeepers that are going to get me lots of points. And you know what? Clean sheets are kind of hard to come by anyway. So not going to stress out too much about goalkeepers. Let's just stick with what I've got and yeah, see what happens. Into defence, Trent Alexander-Arnold against Aston Villa, looking like a really nice fixture. Aston Villa, although they scored 3 goals against Fulham, can't reiterate it enough, it was against Fulham. So I don't expect Aston Villa to be scoring that amount of goals every single game week. And I think if Liverpool can start to show this sort of defensive, a bit of defensive improvement, then there's going to be clean sheets there, and there's also going to be plenty of opportunities for Trent to get some attacking returns as well, goals, assists, whatever comes his way. Plenty of great players ahead of him for him to pass to get those assists, and obviously he does like a shot as well. Reece James, his game against Crystal Palace looks pretty good on paper. I don't actually know how it's going to turn out. I'm kind of a little bit worried about Chelsea in general right now, just because they're conceding so many goals, and I don't think once they've got all of their players fit, and I've watched them play as a full unit, everyone's fit for a sort of 3-4 games and I can sort of get a gist of what they're all about, then I'll be much more confident in Chelsea. But right now, I'm just not quite 100%. But saying that, Reece James is exactly what I'm looking for in a defender, which is super, super attacking, making crosses, making passes, taking shots. That's exactly what I want. And 5.1 million for a Chelsea defender is a pretty good price, you'd say. And then moving on to Kyle Walker-Peters, who is going to occupy my final slot of defence this week. Yeah, Ayling dropping out the team for Kyle Walker-Peters is my preferred choice against West Bromwich Albion. Again, Kyle Walker-Peters so attacking down that right-hand side. Really, really constant opportunities for an assist. Like every single game you watch him and you think, you could get an assist here very, very easily. And then if you get the bonus of a clean sheet, which I don't know with Southampton. Southampton have sort of been a little bit up and down at the moment, especially at home. I'm not fully convinced by Southampton, but I am convinced by Kyle Walker-Peters' ability to get an assist. Clean sheet would be a bonus, I would say, out of that game. But assist is something I probably would expect against West Brom there. So, yeah, fingers crossed there indeed. Moving on into midfield, and I've got Mo Salah up against Aston Villa. As I say, Aston Villa, I don't expect them to score a lot of goals, but on the other hand, Aston Villa's defensively, they've sort of been really, really much improved team. They've since lockdown at the end of last season, they were just such a better defensive unit. I think their defensive tactics have changed a little bit, and they're sort of sitting a little bit deeper. They're not bombing forward as much, so that's sort of giving them a little bit more, defensive acumen, I suppose. And although I'm saying all of this, also this is Salah, and when you've got a player like Salah, it doesn't matter who you're playing, whether you're playing Man City or you're playing Manchester United, you're always going to get some goals from Salah on a good day. So he's always got the potential for a high score. So even though I'm saying Aston Villa might be a little bit tougher than the typical Aston Villa that we think about from last season, there is still points there. I really do think there's still points there for Salah, as I do with any single game that he'll play. There's always points for Salah. So very happy to own him indeed. Lots of people are trying to bring him in. He's up to 12.1 million. And I imagine people will continue to bring Salah in, particularly this game when he plays against Aston Villa, which a lot of people identify as an easy fixture. I don't think it's super easy, but yeah, it's not a bad fixture for Salah at all. Next up is De Bruyne up against Leeds. Leeds look attackingly fantastic, but defensively woeful. Like I said, they're concentrating so much on how many goals they can score. They're sort of neglecting how many goals they concede, which means a player like De Bruyne, the star asset of that Manchester City team, the most likely to get goal contributions in any single game, he's going to have an absolute field day, you would say, against a team like Leeds. Manchester City's sort of games, their fixtures sort of start to look a little bit better now. So I think there's going to be some good things to come from Man City and from De Bruyne. So De Bruyne is very much a player who is going absolutely nowhere. His stats look really, really good, better than anyone else. Sterling is sort of potentially playing down the middle, which sort of doesn't suit Sterling as much. Sterling is actually sort of better off when he's playing as a winger. So they are missing a striker, Manchester City, but that is going to kind of mean that Sterling is going to be slightly worse because he's playing in an uncomfortable position and he wants to be wide and he wants to drift in. But it also means that a player like De Bruyne has far more responsibility to to score goals, to create goals, and to be an amazing player, I suppose. Also, Leeds United have conceded the most amount of penalties so far. They've conceded 3 penalties so far this season. So there's another penalty potentially. It's going to land at De Bruyne's feet. De Bruyne will be taking the penalty. So definitely potential for penalty points there as well. In addition to the fact that Leeds' expected goals conceded is very high. They're conceding a lot of shots and everything. And they're looking pretty easy to attack. So, yeah, Leeds, fantastic team, but De Bruyne is looking like a really, really good option against them. And then next up, I've got Bruno Fernandes up against Spurs. Not really sure what Spurs team are going to show up. Not really sure what Manchester United team are going to show up. What I can say is Spurs are playing sort of 4 times in the space of 8 days, I think it is, which is just madness because they've got their League Cup and they've got their European games as well, their European qualifiers. So really congested fixture list for Spurs, so that's going to be tough for them. So with Manchester United playing this Spurs team at home, Spurs travelling again to play against Manchester United, there could be some goals there. You would imagine that Bruno Fernandes might nick a cheeky penalty. He doesn't need to play well to score points, so again, that's really, really fantastic. Manchester United obviously get a lot of penalties go in their favour. So yeah, something really interesting to look out for there. And I do think there could potentially be goals in this game anyway. I like the look of that game. quite a lot. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'm pretty confident having Bruno Fernandes in that game, even though that's probably Tottenham is probably the hardest game out of all of my players that have to play. Fernandes, I think, can do the business there 100%. Next up, finally, in my midfield is Podence. Now, you will notice that he is still a little bit yellow. Obviously was injured in game week 3, but game week 4 it's a shoulder injury, and the word is that he is going to be fit, ready to go, back in training, and ready to play against Fulham. Sort of, I think Podence was arguably kind of missed in Wolves' last game. They lost 4-0 to West Ham, and perhaps they lacked a little bit of creativity that Podence could have provided. So Podence, I would expect sort of Nuno will be very, very keen to get Podence back in that team, starting in the normal advanced wing position, and crossing into Jimenez potentially, could even potentially get a goal of his own. I mean, Fulham at home is a fantastic fixture, just because Fulham just looking so weak defensively at the moment that there really are a team to be got at. There's really a lot of points in there for if you do have players who are playing against Fulham at home, similar to sort of Leeds. Leeds is another good team to attack right now. West Brom, another really good team to attack right now. So if you've got players playing against Fulham and West Brom and potentially Leeds as well, those are sort of the players that will get your better scores, I guess, this week. The ones that have the potential for the big hauls, 10-pointer pluses. So we'll see what happens there. Opponents at 5.6 million. I'm not expecting huge amounts of things from, but he's looked really good in the 2 games that he has played, and this is his easiest fixture yet. So let's see what he can do. And then up front, I've got Verna against Crystal Palace. Like I said, Verna, I'm a little bit worried about just because he's playing off on the left. Crystal Palace, I'm not really sure how good they are. They seem to be, massively improved. I think defensively, they can really shut a team out if they want to. And Chelsea are sort of not quite there yet. They need to get all of their players back fit. They need to find out who is going to be playing where. Is Verna a winger on the left? Is he a winger on the right? He played even in midfield by the looks of things in parts of that game against West Brom, just as Chelsea kept throwing on more and more strikers. So yeah, not exactly convinced by that, but let's see what kind of a fixture that brings. I don't think there's a massive harm in rolling Verna into this game week 4 against Crystal Palace. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. He's got to score eventually, you would have thought, but how long do you leave it, kind of thing, before he does get a Premier League goal? Mitrovic against Wolves away, that's kind of a hard game for Mitrovic, but he's taking so many shots. I don't think that's suddenly going to stop. He's on penalties. Penalties are absolute rife right now. So Mitrovic, between taking so many shots and being on penalties, that's outside of his so many shots, there's always a chance that he will grab a goal. So even in a game against Wolves have sort of been, last 2 games, pretty weak defensively, to be fair. They've not really looked the full package defensively, especially Sice hasn't looked particularly hot. So I think there genuinely is potential for Mitrovic to grab a goal, or maybe even 2. But I do still think Wolves will beat Fulham, probably by a considerable margin. But I would definitely not discount Mitrovic getting a goal in that game, not at all. And then finally there is Che Adams playing up front. He's playing against West Brom. That's the other game which I sort of said that's a real West Brom at home is a really, really nice fixture, a game that you really want to be targeting. Che Adams, obviously, if he was a Danny Ings, that would look a lot nicer. But Che Adams, he is getting a lot of good opportunities still. His positioning is just incredible. If he can get some nice shots on target, there's definitely goals on the way for Adams. He is so due a goal. He really is. I'm struggling to think of a player that is more due a goal than Che Adams. So against West Brom, there's no way I'm transferring him out. There's no way he's getting dropped to my bench. He's going to be playing, and I think this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one for him to get a goal. I mean, if he can't score against West Brom, then okay, perhaps we will start saying maybe he's not the best guy for my FPL team right now, and we can sort of think about upgrading him to a slightly more expensive player. But yeah, that could be, it really a Che Adams sort of, 7, 8, 9 points. I would not be surprised if he got that kind of score against West Brom. Not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. So let's see what happens there. And then onto my bench, Walton, obviously long-term injury, but he's there just in case Ryan gets injured when Walton is back fit, so I don't have to waste that transfer. Burke, he's playing every game week at the moment for Sheffield United, but he's playing against Arsenal away. Don't really fancy him there. Don't really fancy Sheffield United for getting goals at all right now, to be honest. Ayling, he's playing against Man City. Not really fancying that either. Defensively, like I said, Leeds are not quite there, and Man City are quite a good attacking team, to say the least. So you would have thought that there would be a few goals conceded by Leeds there. But you know what? Ayling could potentially get sort of assists, potentially, but I'm not convinced enough to put him on my starting 11. And then Ferguson is there, sort of a long-term absentee, and when he's back, I will be laughing, but we'll wait on that. So yes, that's what I'm looking at. It looks pretty good. Everything is green, apart from sort of 3 grey fixtures, I suppose. So really, really nice. In terms of fixtures, this is set up perfectly, but we can set it up a little bit more perfectly by selecting a little transfer that we might want to make this week. So this is the transfer that I plan to make this week. Will not come as too much of a surprise to you. Verna is going to be going out for Jimenez. I kind of spoke about how I was a bit worried about Verna. I kind of spoken in yesterday's video about how I really like the look of Jimenez. Out of the sort of, I guess, premium strikers, I like the look of Jimenez the most. Just because he's got such good fixtures. He's got Fulham to play, he's got Leeds to play, and then he's got Newcastle to play. So really, really good fixtures for attack. And he starts off against Fulham. Right now, probably looking like the worst defence in the league. West Brom will probably might be able to challenge them for that. But in terms of the fixtures, Wolves' next 3 are looking super, super good. Much better than their fixture against West Ham, although which looks a good fixture on paper. In reality, turns out it wasn't such a good fixture. But against Fulham, Jimenez is not going to score another own goal. We don't need to worry about that. He's surely got a goal in this game. I don't understand how he could not score in this game, quite frankly. I'd say he's more likely to score in this game than to not score in this game, which, when you have those kind of odds in your head, you've got to make the transfer. So Jimenez is going to be in. He's going to be playing against Fulham at home, and he's going to get us a goal. And, what I really like about this team now is that I've doubled up on players playing against Fulham. I've doubled up on players playing against West Brom, and I've also got a player playing against Leeds. So in multiple areas, I've been able to target some really, really nice fixtures. And this team this week is all about the fixtures. So it's looking really, really, really good on paper. And this team looks to me like a really good. It looks like I'm in for a good score. Let's go through captaincies quickly. So who am I thinking right now? I'll go for captain and vice captain. So captain right now, I'm thinking De Bruyne. As I mentioned, Leeds, quite leaky defence. De Bruyne, premium player. So it seems obvious. Leaky defence versus premium player. You captain the premium player, so easy peasy lemon squeezing captain on there, and vice captain on Salah, mostly because he's Salah, another super premium player in my team, playing against Aston Villa, who I'm not expecting them to concede a lot of goals, but I still think Liverpool could sort of beat them sort of 2-0, maybe 3-1, something like that. And Salah has got a good a chance of getting some goal contributions there. So that's sort of how right now I'm thinking I'm going to be lining up, and I'm pretty sure. I'm sure 99% sure this is exactly how I'm going to be lining up. And I'm pretty confident about this team, to be honest. And I'm pretty glad I've not wildcarded. I'm pretty glad I've not made any panic moves or knee-jerk moves or anything like that. Planning long-term. This is sort of a week where my long-term planning is going to start to pay off, I hope. And we can sort of rocket up the ranks a little bit with a really strong week indeed. So let's see what happens here. But I think I'm pretty confident. I think I'm pretty confident with this team this week. So, yeah, looking pretty good. That is basically the end of the video. I did quickly want to say that I will be doing a captaincy video on Friday, so I'll be running through each potential captain option. Hopefully things will go to the script a little bit more, so the typically best captain options actually do perform in Game Week 4. But yeah, I'll be talking a little bit about some stats, and you can sort of make your own decision on captains based on that. Please do give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it today. As I said earlier, aiming for 40,000 subscribers. So if you are new around here, first time you see my face, please do consider subscribing, and I'd really, really appreciate that indeed. And aside from that, check out the stuff in the description. My Twitter's on there, Instagram, my Patreon if you want to chat with me over on there on my private server. And then my mini league as well. If you want to join my mini league, you can do that as well. So plenty to see, plenty going on in there. So please do check that out. Other than that, I suppose thank you so much for watching. I will see you on tomorrow's video. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to make yet, but I'll have a think about that tonight. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.